What's going on, Spooky Gang, and welcome back to Top 5 Scary Videos. Horror movies are only as good as their ending. Some endings are happy, sure, some are the exact opposite. But sometimes movies have both. Yeah, so it's up to test audiences to really have say on which route they're gonna go. So, here to break down 5 of those horror movie endings that were changed, I'm Taylor McWaters, you're you, let's just dive in. But before we get to our list today, guys, we have a quick message from our sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. Have you ever dreamed of fitting an amazing, truly AAA quality game right there in your pocket? Something you can dive into and play anytime? Well, now you can with Raid Shadow Legends. We have 500 champions to collect, each with their own skill trees and millions of artifacts to find and equip. No two champions will ever be the same. And you can play Raid Shadow Legends anywhere, anytime, being available on both mobile and PC. So, what's coming up for Raid? Well, this month, Raid's got their biggest update ever. The main event here is the Doom Tower. It's a giant tower with 120 floors, a bunch of secret challenge rooms, and 12 seriously badass bosses to take on. And on top of that, they're also releasing 14 awesome new champions just in time for the holidays, along with a whole host of holiday events and tournaments. Plus a super special champion to help get everybody started in the tower, Bulwark. So if you want to get a huge head start in Raid, all you have to do is hit the link in the description. And if you are a new player, you'll get your free Void Champion, Bulwark, 50 gems, an XP booster, some energy refills, and even an Ancient Shard as soon as you get in game. All this treasure will be waiting for you right here. So what are you waiting for? Dive in. Kicking off the list at number 5, Deep Blue Sea. Released in 1999, starring Samuel L. Jackson, Thomas Jane, Saffron Burrows, and directed by Renny Harlin, Deep Blue Sea tells the story of a team of scientists determined to fight Alzheimer's disease. But in order to do so, they must study a group of mako sharks at an underwater facility. As you would expect, the tests don't go so well, and the sharks end up faster, smarter, and stronger than before. Scary. The movie is a long, anxiety-filled adventure full of surprise deaths. Now, the original ending was meant to be much happier, and of course test audiences didn't like that. They don't like happiness, they don't want that. They want death, they want all the death. What we see in the final product is Saffron Burrows' character, the day-saving scientist, sacrifices herself to save the others. Now, director Renny Harlin said that with test audiences, they were loving the movie so far. I mean, Samuel L. Jackson's death got them electric, and the energy was flowing in the theater. There were laughs, there were scares, and in the last 7 minutes of the test screening, there was disappointment. Yeah, the audiences saw this scientist as the reason everything went to shit. I mean, she was the bad guy in this movie to them, yet the writers depicted her as this hero. Test cards came back and simply just said, kill her. So just like that, they added some CGI to a scene, and the ending was now completely different. See, now she falls in the water and gets eaten by a CGI shark. In a blink and you'll miss its speed. I mean, check it out. Number 4, I Am Legend. Released in 2007, written by Mark Prodosevich and directed by Frank Lawrence, Will Smith stars in this dark apocalypse survival flick based off of the 1954 Richard Matheson novel. So it's set in an abandoned New York City. There's grass growing through major intersections, buildings are falling apart, everything is dirty, and then in comes a sick red Mustang. Then we meet Robert Neville. Robert is a scientist and he is the only living human left in New York, and his hands are quite full. So while fighting off infected humans, who at this point are these undead vampire-like bald creatures, this guy also has to try and come up with a cure to save humans using his own blood. And he just happens to be the only person immune to the virus, hence why he's the lone survivor. The ending we saw, I think, was a perfect ending. We have this guy who's been missing his family and just trying to make it one day at a time, and then he sacrifices himself to save humanity, while the cure gets taken to save the world, not the band, the cure. It literally couldn't sound more heroic than that. I mean, the original ending was a lot more calm, with Neville being seen as this monster who took these creatures that were just trying to survive. Number 3, Misery. The film that landed Kathy Bates an Oscar back in 1991, based off the Stephen King novel, directed by Rob Reiner, and screenplay written by William Goldman, comes this obsession horror masterpiece, where famous author Paul Sheldon, played by James Caan, is rescued by Annie Wilkes' superfan, of course being played by the amazing Kathy Bates. Now, after being held captive for a horrible, grueling amount of time, in a climactic fight for his life, Paul throws Annie off of him and finally delivers the final blow. So in this version, we see Paul is having a hard time afterwards. He walks with a cane now, and every step I'm sure he's reminded of these terrors. But in the original cut, however, he seemed a lot better off. And again, fans didn't like that. They don't like happiness. The film does such a great job of showing the physical and mental torture that Paul goes through. So to have him be okay at the end just didn't make a lot of sense to these test audience members. So Rob Reiner and James Caan went back and decided it would be more fitting if he had a cane. That small little detail made a huge difference. And I agree. There's nothing like watching somebody go through hell and then like a few months later they're at a carnival eating cotton candy having a great time. Like no, you're mentally, you're gone. Your life is not going to be the same for 3 years at least. Stephen King's original ending for the novel was actually meant to be even darker. Yeah, he originally had Annie kill and skin Paul and then feed his remains to pigs, and then it gets worse. Just wait, it gets worse. And then the book that he's being forced to write, well, that gets binded together nicely with Paul's skin. Gross. The Annie Wilkes edition doesn't play around. Number 2, The Descent. Directed by Neil Marshall, released in 2005, The Descent follows the main protagonist Sarah, played by Shauna Macdonald, as she attempts to get over a death of her late husband and daughter. Now, her and her friends think it's a great idea to distract her and go explore some caves, right? They end up getting trapped as the cave entrance collapses, and then they soon meet the Crawlers, who are a group of humanoid monsters that are blind and have evolved to live in complete darkness in these caves and are extremely deadly. So how does it end? Well, that answer depends on who you ask. See, in the original version of the film, we find Sarah in a dark pit of the cave after she falls and knocks herself unconscious. She's the lone survivor now, okay? She wakes up to sunlight shining in her face, and then once she crawls her way out of the narrow gap to freedom, she runs to her car, collects herself, and gets the hell out of Dodge. So after a good distance has been set, she pulls over to throw up, which I would have done the entire time. I'd have nothing left inside of me. So afterwards, she gets back in the car and is surprised to see the ghost of her deceased explorer friend, Juno, sitting next to her. And then the credits roll. Pretty dark ending, right? There is another ending though, of course, and it's known as the UK version, which blows my mind that the UK version of all these movies are even a thing. Like, can we pick one? I don't want to call my uncle and be like, was it good? Yeah, mine was kind of Your sounds way better than mine. The UK ending showed Sarah waking up in the dark part of the cave, except this time she doesn't have that guiding light above her shining on her face. Instead, she dreamt of the entire escape, and the film leaves us on Sarah staring and smiling at a vision of her lost long daughter. Now, I'm glad they kept both of these endings dark, but this is one of the more popular arguments online. If you guys seen it, which ending did you like more? I'm a fan of being trapped in the cave, seeing the ghost of daughter's past. It seems more plausible, to be honest. And finally at number 1, Get Out. Get Out, directed by comedic and now horror mastermind Jordan Peele, was released in 2017, starring Daniel Kaluuya, Allison Williams, and Catherine Keener. The film was centered around the relationship of Chris Washington and Rose Armitage. And when Chris goes to meet the family, it turns out they're all in the head. The whole movie was a slow burn, and the final moments will have you literally sitting at the edge of your seat. It is amazing. The whole movie is amazing from start to finish. It's great. Jordan Peele knocked it out of the park, but the ending wasn't always so happy for our man Chris.
Hey, show me your hand!
Yeah, in the original / alternate version, we see Chris arrested by the actual police that show up, instead of the squad car belonging to Rod. So the police show up and they arrest him. They take him in, they lock him up, and they don't believe any of his story. And I'm glad this ending was changed, because this thought was already in our heads when we first saw those flashing lights. And the audience thought, oh, he's gonna get shot now because they're gonna think he's the killer. He's on top choking out Rose, and she's like, help me, boo boo. Like it looks like it's gonna end bad. And then the theater lets out a nervous sigh of relief once it's revealed who actually showed up. Well guys, there you have it. Look, there are tons of alternate endings to tons of these movies, and I would love to break all of them down, so stay tuned for a part 2. I'm sure it's in the works. Let me know in the comments which versions you guys liked more of these movies, because we love hearing your thoughts. I'm Taylor McWaters, stay safe, and we'll catch you next time. Number 4, I Am Legend. Released in 2007, written by Mark Prodasevich. Written by Mark there it goes again, Prodasevich. Written by Mark Prodasevich and directed by Frank Lawrence, Will Smith stars in this dark apocalypse survival flick. Will Smith stars in this dark